Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling some huge questions about human behavior and happiness. And to do that, we're going to be looking at the work of Dr. Bill von Hippel. He is a leading expert in evolutionary psychology. And what we're going to try to figure out is, how are the instincts that we inherited from our ancestors, from way back when, how are those impacting our lives in the 21st century, specifically in terms of happiness? Are we getting something fundamentally wrong? We're going to dive into that, and hopefully by the end, we'll have a little bit of understanding. Some of the questions that we're going to be asking are, why do people who live in rural communities often say that they are happier than people who live in cities, even when they have less wealth? Could it be that our constant pursuit of individual freedom is actually leading us towards more isolation rather than fulfillment? And, what can we learn from the Hadza people? This is a hunter-gatherer group in Tanzania, and they consistently report being happier than people in industrialized nations. What's going on there? We're going to look at all that good stuff. So at the core of Dr. von Hippel's work is this idea of the Autonomy-Connection Paradox. And this is essentially saying that humans need both autonomy, that feeling of individual freedom, going out and doing our own thing, and also connection, those strong social bonds that make us feel like we belong. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. von Hippel suggests that the modern world that we live in may have tipped the scales a little too far in favor of autonomy. So think about it like this. Everywhere we look, we are being told to chase our individual achievements, to really stand out from the crowd. But you know what? In doing all of that, are we sacrificing those crucial social connections, the ones that make us feel good, like actually contribute to our well-being? Well, when you look at the data, it seems like we just might be. For instance, more and more people are choosing to live alone these days, and we just don't interact with our neighbors as much. Like back in 1850, only 1 in 100 Americans lived alone. But guess what? Today, that number has jumped to 1 in 7. That is wild. It's not just about living alone. Back in the 1970s, a third of Americans hung out with their neighbors regularly. But now, it's less than 1 in 5. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Have you noticed this shift yourself in your own life? Do you ever feel this sort of tension between chasing your dreams and making sure you nurture those close relationships? I know I do. Now, let's imagine ourselves taking a trip to Tanzania to meet the Hadza people. They offer us a glimpse into a way of life that seems to have struck this beautiful balance between autonomy and connection. The Hadza live as hunter-gatherers, very much like our ancestors did a long, long time ago. But here's the amazing part. Despite living with challenges, with limited resources, and even facing higher infant mortality rates, they consistently report being happier than folks living in these fancy developed nations. So what is their secret? Their lifestyle is built on cooperation, interdependence, and shared experiences. For them, survival depends on relying on one another, and that in turn creates this super strong sense of community, this strong sense of belonging. Imagine a world where working together isn't just a nice thing to do, but a necessity. Could that be a key ingredient to their happiness? It really makes you think, doesn't it? All right, let's shift our attention to status. How might our desire for status be making us unhappy in this modern world? Dr. von Hippel points out a big difference in how status was viewed in the past compared to now. Back in the day, status was all about how you contributed to your small, tight-knit community. People cared about whether you were a good person, someone they could depend on. Those were the qualities that really mattered. Fast forward to today, and status has taken on a whole new meaning. It's all about wealth, achievement, and those never-ending comparisons that social media throws at us. There is always going to be someone out there who seems richer, more successful, or more attractive. This relentless chase for status in a world where the rules of the game are always changing can really leave us feeling empty. Dr. von Hippel gives a great example of this. Think about the difference between the stuff you own and the experiences you have. A shiny new car might give you a temporary buzz, but it's the experiences you share with people you love. The adventures you have, the memories you build, those are the things that truly make us happy and help us grow. So which one do you think is more important? Stuff or experiences? It's something to think about. Of course, we can't talk about modern life without bringing up technology. While it's super convenient and keeps us connected in many ways, Dr. von Hippel warns us about the downsides. He even came up with a term for it, smiling, which stands for social media-induced laziness in our social habits. Think about how many times you've chosen to scroll through your phone instead of meeting up with friends. While we are busy collecting those likes and followers, we may be neglecting those real-life interactions that are crucial for feeling good. And the data is pretty striking. For example, did you know there's been a noticeable drop in sexual activity among young people? Some researchers think this might be linked to the rise of pornography. It's just one example of how technology, even though it seems to be connecting us, might actually be pushing us further apart. So how do we use all this info from Dr. von Hippel to improve our lives? How do we find that sweet spot between freedom and connection in a world that's constantly pulling us in opposite directions? Luckily, he's got some practical advice. He offers 5 strategies that he thinks can help us live happier, more fulfilling lives. His first strategy is simple but powerful. Prioritize your family. Make time for them. Create those special moments together and really work on nurturing that feeling of belonging. Choose to have dinner as a family instead of everyone being glued to their screens. Plan that weekend getaway instead of just looking at everyone else's adventures online. It's those little choices that can make a world of difference. His next piece of advice is to go beyond your immediate family and embrace connections in your community. Could you join a local sports team? Or volunteer for a cause that speaks to your heart? Maybe even just make a point of meeting up with friends in person instead of just liking their posts online. These are all ways to build those vital social connections. His third recommendation might surprise you. Think about getting a pet, especially if you're going through a super busy time in your life, like starting a business or working a demanding job. Having a pet around can be a great source of companionship and emotional support. They offer unconditional love, and this constant sense of connection, which can be really grounding when you're feeling stressed or isolated. Okay, here is a piece of advice that might seem a little counterintuitive in our world of go, go, go. Dr. von Hippel suggests that we should value idle conversation. Yep, you heard right. Those casual chats with people, whether it's the barista at your favorite coffee shop, someone you bump into at the gym, or just lingering a little longer at a party. These might seem insignificant, but these little interactions are actually the building blocks of strong social connections. And finally, when you're going after those big ambitious goals, Dr. von Hippel suggests that you get others involved. Find people who can support you and hold you accountable. Join a group of like-minded individuals, find a workout buddy, or simply share your dreams with someone who believes in you. Their encouragement and support can make a huge difference in your success and your enjoyment of the journey. So there you have it, 5 strategies to help us navigate the ups and downs of modern life, while remembering that our need for connection runs deep. It's a reminder that true happiness often comes not from being alone, but from the richness of our relationships and shared experiences. Up next, we're going to explore Dr. von Hippel's research on attraction and dating, and see how our evolutionary past might still be influencing our desires and behaviors when it comes to romance. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of Dr. Bill von Hippel's research. We've already uncovered some pretty cool insights, like the whole autonomy-connection thing, the secrets to happiness we can learn from hunter-gatherers, and how complicated attraction is in the modern dating world. But guess what? We're just getting started. Get ready for some even more mind-blowing stuff. So we all know about anxiety and depression. Those feelings can really sneak up on us, right? But have you ever thought that maybe these emotions actually have some evolutionary roots? Dr. von Hippel's research says that's exactly the case. He suggests that anxiety, at its core, is all about being able to see threats coming. Like way back when, our ancestors who were good at imagining and prepping for danger, like a hungry predator or a rival tribe, were the ones who were more likely to, make it, pass on their genes. So in a way, anxiety is kind of a gift from evolution. It's like a built-in warning system to help us handle all the uncertainty in the world. But just like any alarm, it can sometimes go haywire. It can go off when it doesn't need to and make us worry way more than we should about stuff that might not even happen. It's like our anxiety is stuck in overdrive, even though the threats we face today are totally different from what our ancestors dealt with. And Dr. von Hippel has some interesting thoughts about depression, too. He thinks that those low moods we all get sometimes might have actually helped our ancestors back in the day. It's like during times when things were scarce or dangerous, feeling down could have helped them save energy and avoid unnecessary risks. Kind of like a built-in hibernation mode, It helped them to pull back and focus on just surviving. But in today's world, where there's so much going on and everyone's pushing us to achieve, this ancient adaptation can turn into feeling sad for a long time, feeling hopeless, and losing interest in things we used to love. It's like our brains are stuck in this survival mode, even though we don't need to be in it anymore. So what's the point of looking at anxiety and depression from this evolutionary perspective? Well, Dr. von Hippel says that understanding where these emotions come from can help us be more understanding and compassionate towards ourselves and others. It reminds us that even though these feelings can be super tough, they're not some kind of personal flaw. They're part of being human, a reminder of our ancestors who faced some serious challenges and developed these adaptations to help them make it through. Pretty cool, huh? All right, let's change gears and talk about neurodiversity. Dr. von Hippel thinks that people who are neurodivergent, like those with ADHD or autism, they might have actually been super important for driving human innovation throughout history. Think about it. Neurodivergent people often think and see the world in ways that are totally unique. They might be amazing at things like recognizing patterns, solving problems, or expressing themselves creatively. But at the same time, they might struggle with social stuff or fitting into the usual expectations. Dr. von Hippel's point is that these unconventional minds, the ones who don't always follow the rules, have probably been behind a lot of groundbreaking inventions and creative breakthroughs. While neurotypical people might focus on keeping things harmonious and sticking to what's already there, neurodivergent people are more likely to shake things up and explore new territory. They're the ones who think outside the box, who see connections that others miss, and who aren't afraid to imagine a different way of doing things. And even though they might not always be the smoothest when it comes to social stuff, their contributions have shaped who we are today. They've pushed the limits of what's possible. So next time you meet someone who thinks differently, remember, their unique perspective might just hold the key to amazing new solutions and innovations. Now let's step into the animal kingdom for a bit and see what we can learn about human mating strategies from our furry, feathered, and scaled friends. Dr. von Hippel has spent a ton of time studying how different species hook up, and guess what? He's found some pretty wild parallels between the animal world and our own romantic pursuits. He points out that in a lot of animal species, males really go all out to impress the ladies. They compete like crazy. They show off their strength, agility, or whatever they've got to attract a mate. Think about peacocks with their flashy feathers, stags with their massive antlers, or bowerbirds who build these elaborate nests to woo their mates. They're basically saying, hey, check me out, I'm the best choice. Females, on the other hand, tend to be a bit more picky. They're not just going to fall for any flashy display. They carefully size up potential partners, looking for those who can provide resources, protection, and good genes for their offspring. It's all about making sure their lineage survives. Dr. von Hippel says that while human mating might seem a lot more complicated on the surface, those basic evolutionary drives are still there, just below the surface. Men are often drawn to women who look youthful, healthy, and fertile because those are signs of reproductive potential. Women, on the other hand, are often attracted to men who show signs of status, resources, and the ability to provide. It all goes back to that evolutionary need to find a partner who can help ensure the survival of their kids. Now, of course, human relationships are way more than just a biological urge to make babies. We also want emotional connection, someone we can click with intellectually and shared values. But Dr. von Hippel's research reminds us that our evolutionary history is still a part of who we are, even when it comes to love. It influences our desires and behaviors, often in subtle ways we might not even realize. Now for a topic that's always a bit tricky, cheating. Dr. von Hippel has looked into the evolutionary reasons behind infidelity, and his findings are pretty eye-opening. From a strictly biological standpoint, he explains that males have evolved to spread their genes as much as possible. This means that they might be more inclined to look for multiple mating opportunities, even if they're already in a committed relationship. Females, though, have a different evolutionary goal. They need to find a partner who's going to invest in their kids, providing resources and protection. So they might be less likely to engage in casual infidelity, as it could mess up the stability of their relationship and the well-being of their children. Now, this doesn't mean that all men are programmed to cheat or that women never stray. Human behavior is way too complicated for that. Social norms, cultural values, and individual personality all play a huge role. But Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that our evolutionary history is still there, influencing our attitudes and behaviors around infidelity, often in subtle ways we might not even pick up on. All right, let's travel back in time for a bit and visit the Hadza people of Tanzania. They give us this incredible glimpse into our ancestral past, and Dr. von Hippel has studied them extensively. Their way of life provides some really valuable insights into how human relationships worked in a hunter-gatherer context. The Hadza have a pretty fluid approach to marriage. Couples often form and break up over time. This might seem strange to us, especially with our Western ideas about monogamy, but it's actually a smart adaptation to the challenges of hunter-gatherer life. Resources are scarce, survival is a daily challenge, and people need to be able to adapt and form alliances that ensure their well-being. This might mean choosing a partner based on their hunting skills, their social connections, or their ability to contribute to the group's survival. It's about what works best for the group as a whole. And even though the Hadza might not view lifelong monogamy the same way many modern societies do, they still value strong social bonds and a sense of community. Their lives are totally intertwined. They depend on each other for support, cooperation, and shared experiences. Their way of life shows us that even though relationships might change and evolve, those deep connections and that sense of belonging are still super important. So what can we learn from the Hadza's perspective on relationships? Dr. von Hippel suggests that it highlights the importance of being adaptable and flexible in how we navigate human connection. It reminds us that relationships, even the ones built on love and commitment, can change over time. Sometimes letting go might be the healthiest option for everyone involved. It's a reminder that there's not just one right way to do relationships. Now let's talk about something that seems kind of contradictory. Dr. von Hippel has found that even though marriage is usually linked to higher levels of happiness, the act of getting married itself doesn't actually make people happier. It might sound strange, but the research shows that people's happiness levels tend to stay pretty stable in the years before and after their wedding day. So what's going on here? Dr. von Hippel thinks that maybe marriage doesn't create happiness, but rather it attracts people who are already happy. Think about it. People who are outgoing, optimistic, and good at socializing are more likely to find partners and get married. And guess what? Those same traits are also linked to higher levels of happiness in general. So while marriage itself might not be some magical happiness potion, it does seem to act like a filter. It brings together people who are already inclined to be happy and provides a supportive environment for those positive traits to thrive. It's like a win-win situation. All right, let's switch gears and talk about something that's often overlooked when we talk about happiness: gratitude. Dr. von Hippel says that cultivating a sense of gratitude can have a huge impact on our well-being. He points out that being grateful shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we do have. It helps us appreciate the good things, both big and small. And that simple shift in perspective can reduce stress, boost our mood, and help us feel more content with our lives. And there's tons of research to back this up. Studies show that people who regularly practice gratitude experience all kinds of benefits. Their physical health improves, their relationships get stronger, and they're more resilient when tough times hit. So how do we cultivate gratitude? Dr. von Hippel suggests some simple things like keeping a gratitude journal, writing thank you notes, or just taking a few minutes each day to think about the things you're thankful for. These little actions can change how you see the world and help you appreciate all the good stuff you already have in your life. And that can lead to more happiness and fulfillment. Now let's talk about this thing Dr. von Hippel calls smiling, which stands for social media-induced laziness in our social habits. He's basically saying that the convenience and instant gratification of social media can sometimes trick us into neglecting those real-world interactions that are so crucial for our well-being. You know how it is. We spend hours scrolling through our feeds, watching other people's lives, and forget to nurture our own relationships and connect with people face-to-face. And what happens? We start to feel isolated, lonely, and disconnected from that richness of real human interaction. It's like we're surrounded by people online, but feeling lonely in real life. So what's the solution to smiling? Dr. von Hippel says we need to be more mindful about how we use social media. Set some boundaries. Make a conscious effort to put real-life connections first. Maybe limit your screen time, plan regular outings with friends, or just make an effort to chat with people you encounter in your daily life. Those small steps can help you break free from the social media trap and rediscover the joy of truly connecting with people. Okay, let's get real for a second. Achieving our goals can be tough. Whether it's losing weight, learning a new skill, or just sticking to a healthy routine, staying motivated can feel like an uphill battle. But Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that getting others involved can be a total game changer. He says that having a partner, friend, or mentor to share the journey with can provide accountability, encouragement, and a shared sense of purpose. We're less likely to give up on our goals when we know someone else is counting on us, and their support can help us keep going when things get tough. So if you're struggling to reach a goal, think about finding someone who can be in your corner. Maybe join a fitness class, get a personal trainer, or simply talk to a friend or family member who believes in you. Their encouragement and accountability could make all the difference. All right, let's talk about something a little more lighthearted: attraction and risk-taking. Dr. von Hippel's research says that men who do risky things are often seen as more attractive by women. Sounds counterintuitive, right? Risky behavior can be dangerous. But if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense. Back in the day, survival often depended on hunting, protecting territory, and competing for resources. Men who were willing to take risks were seen as brave, confident, and physically capable, which were all super valuable traits. Now, this doesn't mean that all women are into reckless daredevils, but Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that taking calculated risks can signal some desirable qualities that can boost a man's attractiveness. It's about finding that balance between being adventurous and being responsible. Now, for a topic that sparked a lot of debate: the evolutionary basis of homosexuality. Dr. von Hippel has studied homosexual behavior in lots of different species, and his research suggests that it might actually have an evolutionary purpose. He points out that homosexual individuals often contribute to the survival and well-being of their relatives, even if they don't have children of their own. They might help with childcare, gather resources, or offer emotional support, which ultimately helps their family group thrive. This idea, known as kin selection, basically means that being altruistic towards your kin can be beneficial from an evolutionary standpoint, even if it doesn't directly increase your own chances of reproducing. It's about the survival of the group, not just the individual. The debate about the origins of homosexuality is ongoing, but Dr. von Hippel's research adds an interesting perspective. It challenges some of our assumptions and shows just how complex human sexuality really is. Okay, let's talk about technology and its impact on our social lives. It's a topic that's always evolving, right? Dr. von Hippel has looked into how technology is shaping how we interact, and his research shows both the good and the bad. On the one hand, technology can help us connect with loved ones who are far away, build communities based on shared interests, and access info and resources that can make our lives better. It's opened up so many possibilities for staying connected and learning new things. But on the other hand, Dr. von Hippel warns us that technology can sometimes replace real-world interactions, which can lead to social isolation and make us less skilled at communicating face-to-face. It's like we're getting so used to interacting through screens that we forget how to connect with people in person. So what's the solution? Dr. von Hippel encourages us to use technology in a balanced way. We need to make time for those face-to-face connections, even when it feels easier to just text or message. Maybe set some limits on your screen time, prioritize those in-person conversations, and actively seek out opportunities to connect with people in the real world. It's about finding that balance between the digital world and the real world. Now let's talk about something that's been making headlines lately: the decline of sexual activity among young people. Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that this trend might be linked to a bunch of different factors, including the rise of pornography, the easy access we have to entertainment and distractions, and the increasing anxiety and pressure that young people face in today's world. It's a complicated issue. He points out that pornography can sometimes create unrealistic expectations about sex, which can lead to a disconnect between what people see on screen and what they experience in real life. And with smartphones, streaming services, and social media constantly vying for our attention, real-world interactions can seem less exciting and require more effort. Plus, the pressure to succeed in school, careers, and relationships can leave young people feeling overwhelmed and less interested in intimacy and pleasure. It's like there's so much going on that sex gets pushed to the back burner. So what can we do about this? Dr. von Hippel says it's important to have open and honest conversations about sex, relationships, and intimacy. Parents, educators, and healthcare providers need to step up and address these topics in a way that's informative and supportive, recognizing the challenges young people face today. And we need to encourage a more balanced approach to technology, encouraging young people to prioritize those face-to-face connections and engage in activities that help them relax, reduce stress, and just have fun. It's about creating a culture where young people feel comfortable talking about these things, where they have healthy boundaries with technology, and where they can explore their sexuality in a safe and positive way. All right, let's shift our focus to status in modern society. It's something we all think about, whether we admit it or not. Dr. von Hippel argues that even though striving for status can motivate us, it can also make us unhappy and feel inadequate. He points out that back in the day, status was determined within small, tight-knit communities. It's about how much you contributed to the group, your skills, relationships, and whether people trusted you. It was about your character and what you brought to the table. But now, things are different. In today's globalized world, where we're all connected, status has become way more complex. We're constantly bombarded with images of success, wealth, and beauty, and it's easy to feel like we're falling short. This constant comparing ourselves to others can make us feel like we're never good enough no matter what we achieve. So how do we break free from this status trap? Dr. von Hippel suggests that we need to redefine what success means to us. It's not just about external markers like money or achievements, but about things like purpose, connection, and personal growth. He says we should focus on appreciating what we have, finding joy in our passions, and nurturing our relationships. Those are the things that bring lasting fulfillment, not chasing after some fleeting idea of status. Let's loop back to the idea of neurodiversity and how it fuels innovation. Remember how we talked about how people with conditions like ADHD and autism often think differently and see the world in unique ways? Well, Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that they played a huge role in advancing human knowledge and creativity. He says that neurodivergent people often excel at things like recognizing patterns, solving problems, or expressing themselves creatively. And while they might struggle with social stuff or fitting into conventional expectations, these unconventional minds have been behind so many groundbreaking inventions and creative breakthroughs. Think about it. While neurotypical people might focus on keeping things harmonious and following the rules, neurodivergent people are more likely to challenge the status quo and explore new territory. They're the ones who think outside the box, see connections that others miss, and imagine different ways of doing things. They're not afraid to shake things up. And even though they might not always be the smoothest in social situations, their unique contributions have undeniably shaped human history and pushed the boundaries of what's possible. So next time you meet someone who thinks differently or doesn't quite fit in, remember, their unique perspective could be the key to unlocking incredible new solutions and driving innovation that benefits us all. Now, let's dive into something that's both personal and universal: finding meaning in life. Dr. von Hippel acknowledges that there are no easy answers here. It's a complex question that everyone grapples with in their own way. Some people find meaning in religion, others find it in relationships, work, passions, or simply contributing to the world. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, and the search for meaning is a journey, not a destination. But Dr. von Hippel suggests that cultivating a sense of purpose, connecting with something bigger than ourselves, and helping others can all lead to a more fulfilling life. He encourages us to get involved in activities that align with our values, nurture our relationships, and make a positive impact on the world, no matter how small. By living intentionally and recognizing our interconnectedness, we can create a life that's rich in meaning and purpose. Now let's get into something that's at the core of a lot of our experiences: happiness. Dr. von Hippel's research says that happiness isn't some fixed state, but rather a dynamic process that's influenced by so many different things. Sure, genetics play a role in how happy we tend to be, but our choices, relationships, and mindset also have a huge impact. He encourages us to create habits that support happiness, like practicing gratitude, nurturing our relationships, doing things that bring us joy, and finding ways to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. And he also emphasizes the importance of self-compassion and acceptance. Happiness isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing the ups and downs of life with grace and resilience. It's about being kind to ourselves. By understanding how happiness works and making choices that support our well-being, we can create a life filled with joy, meaning, and lasting fulfillment. Okay, let's talk about technology and mental health. It's a topic that's super relevant today, right? Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that technology, while offering amazing opportunities for connection, information, and entertainment, can also fuel anxiety, depression, and a sense of disconnect from the real world. Think about it. We're constantly bombarded with information. There's this pressure to look perfect online, and we're always worried about missing out on what everyone else is doing. All of this can make us feel overwhelmed, like we're constantly comparing ourselves and never good enough. It's like a recipe for anxiety and self-doubt. So what can we do? Dr. von Hippel says we need to use technology in a mindful way, set boundaries, prioritize those face-to-face interactions, and do things that help us relax, reduce stress, and feel truly connected. It's about taking control of our technology use so that it doesn't control us. Let's explore something fascinating: the evolutionary roots of morality. Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that our sense of right and wrong might have evolved from our ancestors. He says that behaviors like cooperation, altruism, and fairness would have been super helpful back in the day. They helped groups stick together and survive. People who worked together, helped each other, and played fair were more likely to thrive and pass on their genes, which shaped our sense of morality as a species. Of course, human morality is super complex. It's influenced by our culture, religion, and personal experiences. But Dr. von Hippel's research gives us a peek into how our sense of morality might have developed and why we value fairness, kindness, and cooperation so much. Now let's talk about something that everyone thinks about at some point: the fear of death. Dr. von Hippel gets that it's a natural human instinct, part of our drive to survive. But he suggests that instead of being consumed by this fear, we can choose to embrace the fact that our time on earth is limited and focus on living a meaningful and purposeful life. He encourages us to nurture our relationships, chase our passions, make a difference in the world, and appreciate the beauty and wonder of life, even knowing it won't last forever. He's basically saying that by facing our mortality with courage and intention, we can live more fully in the present and leave a legacy that goes beyond our physical existence. It's about making the most of the time we have. All right, let's shift gears and talk about memory. We all know that memory naturally declines as we age, right? But Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that we can do things to protect our brains and even improve our memory. He highlights how regular exercise, a healthy diet, mentally stimulating activities, and strong social connections can all contribute to a healthier brain and better memory. He encourages us to keep our minds sharp, stay socially engaged, and prioritize our physical and mental health. By taking a holistic approach to aging, we can slow down memory decline and enjoy a more vibrant and fulfilling life as we get older. Now, let's dive into something that's always intrigued philosophers and scientists: consciousness. Dr. von Hippel admits that consciousness is still a big mystery. We don't have all the answers yet, but he suggests that it's not just a random byproduct of brain activity. He believes that it emerges from the complex interactions of neurons, networks, and feedback loops in our brains. It's like consciousness is a result of all these different parts working together in an incredibly intricate way. And he thinks that researching consciousness could lead to some mind-blowing discoveries about the human mind, our place in the universe, and the potential for artificial intelligence. By continuing to explore this uncharted territory, we might unlock new possibilities for understanding ourselves and the very nature of reality. This is pretty exciting stuff. Now, let's get back to the search for meaning in life. It's something we all grapple with, right? Dr. von Hippel acknowledges that this question is complex, and there's no one right answer. Some people find meaning in religion. Others find it in their relationships, work, passions, or giving back to the world. It's different for everyone. But he suggests that cultivating a sense of purpose, feeling connected to something bigger than ourselves, and contributing to the well-being of others can all make our lives feel more meaningful and fulfilling. He encourages us to find activities that align with our values, nurture our relationships, and make a positive impact, even in small ways. It's about living with intention and embracing the fact that we're all connected. Let's talk about the future of human evolution. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about, right? Dr. von Hippel admits that it's hard to predict exactly how we'll evolve, but he believes that technology, culture, and the choices we make will play a big role. We're living in a time of incredible change. Things like artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and other technological advancements are raising big questions about what it means to be human and our place in the universe. It's a lot to wrap our heads around. Dr. von Hippel encourages us to have thoughtful conversations about these issues, consider the consequences of our choices, and try to create a future that's sustainable and benefits everyone. It's about recognizing that we have a role to play in shaping our own evolution and creating a world where humanity can thrive for generations to come. Now, let's address something that's often seen as a negative part of aging: physical health. While it's true that our bodies naturally age, Dr. von Hippel's research shows that we have a lot of control over our physical well-being. He stresses how important things like regular exercise, a healthy diet, stress management, and good sleep are for staying healthy and feeling good throughout our lives. He encourages us to be proactive about our health, get regular checkups, stay informed about health risks, and make choices that support our well-being. It's about taking ownership of our health and doing what we can to feel our best. Now let's explore something that's both fascinating and a bit mysterious: love. Dr. von Hippel suggests that love isn't just a fleeting emotion, but a complex experience that involves biology, psychology, and social factors all mixed together. It serves an evolutionary purpose, helping us form bonds, care for our children, and create strong social connections. But it can also be unpredictable, sometimes challenging, and even painful. He encourages us to approach love with both open hearts and clear minds. We need to consider compatibility, communication, and shared values when we're building relationships. It's about understanding how complex love is and making choices that support our emotional well-being. That's how we can create relationships that enrich our lives and make us truly happy. Let's talk about something that's been really important throughout human history: community. Dr. von Hippel's research shows that belonging to a community is crucial for our well-being, social support, and feeling like our lives have a purpose. Being part of a community gives us a sense of belonging, shared values, opportunities to connect, and a safety net when times are tough. It's about having people we can count on and who can count on us. He encourages us to find communities that align with our interests, values, and passions, whether it's a religious group, a hobby club, a neighborhood organization, or just a group of friends who love doing the same things we do. By actively engaging in communities that feed our souls and make us feel like we belong, our lives become richer and more fulfilling. Okay, let's talk about a topic that's pretty relevant today: social media and self-esteem. Dr. von Hippel's research shows that constantly comparing ourselves to others and the perfect images we see on social media can really mess with our self-image and how we feel about ourselves. It's easy to feel inadequate when we're bombarded with those carefully curated photos, highlight reels of accomplishments, and seemingly effortless perfection that people present online. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, successful enough, or attractive enough. It's a recipe for self-doubt. So what's the solution? Dr. von Hippel suggests that we need to be more mindful of our social media habits, set some boundaries. Choose who you follow carefully so that your feed is filled with positive and uplifting content. And remember, what you see online is often just a carefully constructed image, not the whole story. By focusing on our own values, strengths, and accomplishments, we can protect our self-esteem and create a more positive and authentic online experience. Now let's get into something that's both fascinating and incredibly powerful: human creativity. Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that creativity isn't something you're either born with or not. It's a skill you can develop. It's about practicing, exploring, and being open to new ideas. He points out that creativity usually comes from a mix of things: knowledge, experience, imagination, and a willingness to take risks and try new things. It's about being curious, challenging our assumptions, and stepping outside our comfort zones. By approaching life with a sense of playfulness and exploration, we can unlock our creative potential and bring new ideas into the world. Okay, let's talk about the future of work. It's a topic that's on a lot of people's minds, especially with all the rapid technological advancements happening today. Dr. von Hippel acknowledges that technology is creating both exciting opportunities and tough challenges in the workplace. Things like automation, artificial intelligence, and other innovations are changing how we work. We need to adapt, learn new skills, and be willing to keep learning throughout our lives. He encourages us to be proactive about our careers. Look for opportunities to grow, develop skills that are in demand, and be adaptable and resilient. By staying ahead of the curve and embracing the possibilities that technology brings, we can navigate the changing world of work and find fulfilling and sustainable careers. Let's talk about something that's fundamental to a thriving society: education. Dr. von Hippel's research shows that education is super important for individual growth, economic success, and making the world a better place. He believes that everyone, no matter their background, should have access to quality education. He sees education as empowering, opening doors to opportunities, helping people think critically, and preparing them to actively participate in a democratic society. By investing in education, we're investing in the future. Now let's delve into something that's been a part of human culture since, well, forever: storytelling. Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that storytelling has played a huge role in how we understand the world, share knowledge, create social bonds, and inspire creativity. Think about it. Stories help us connect with each other, share experiences, see things from different perspectives, and make sense of complicated ideas. They have this amazing power to transport us to different worlds, make us feel deeply, and teach us valuable lessons. Dr. von Hippel encourages us to embrace the power of storytelling, both by listening to stories and telling our own. He believes that stories can inspire us, teach us, and even transform us. By engaging with stories that speak to us, we can expand our understanding of the world, connect with others on a deeper level, and make our lives richer and more meaningful. Okay, let's talk about something that's often overlooked in our busy lives: relaxation. Dr. von Hippel says that finding ways to relax and de-stress is crucial for both our physical and mental health. He points out that being stressed out all the time can really take a toll on our bodies, increasing our risk for things like heart disease, depression, and other chronic illnesses. So he encourages us to make time for activities that help us unwind, whether it's spending time in nature, listening to music, meditating, doing yoga, or simply taking a few minutes each day to disconnect from technology and focus on our breath. By incorporating relaxation into our daily routines, we can reduce stress, boost our mood, and just feel better overall. Now let's revisit the topic of consciousness. It's such a mind-boggling concept, right? Dr. von Hippel acknowledges that we still have a lot to learn about consciousness. It's one of the biggest mysteries in science. But he suggests that it's not just a side effect of what our brains do. He believes that consciousness emerges from the complex interactions of all those neurons, networks, and feedback loops happening in our brains. It's like consciousness arises from the incredible complexity of our brains. He believes that researching consciousness could lead to some amazing discoveries about the human mind, our place in the universe, and the potential for artificial intelligence. It's all about continuing to explore the unknown and expanding our understanding of ourselves and the nature of reality. Now let's get back to the search for meaning in life. It's a question that's been pondered by philosophers and everyday people for centuries. Dr. von Hippel acknowledges that there's no one right answer. Some people find meaning in religion, others in their relationships, work, passions, or by making a difference in the world. It's different for everyone. But he suggests that cultivating a sense of purpose, feeling connected to something bigger than ourselves, and contributing to the well-being of others can all make our lives feel more meaningful and fulfilling. It's about living with intention and recognizing that we're all interconnected. All right, welcome back to our deep dive. We've been exploring Dr. Bill von Hippel's work and all the fascinating things he's discovered about human behavior and happiness. From that autonomy-connection paradox to the surprising lessons we can learn from hunter-gatherers, it's been quite a journey. But before we wrap up, there's one more area of Dr. von Hippel's research I want to touch on: the impact of city life on our well-being. Now, cities have always been these hubs of opportunity, attracting people with the promise of jobs, education, and that vibrant social scene. And they definitely offer a lot of advantages. But Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that there might be a bit of a hidden cost to all that hustle and bustle. Here's the interesting part. Even though people in cities tend to be wealthier, they often report lower levels of happiness compared to folks living in rural areas. Why is that? Dr. von Hippel believes it might have something to do with the way city life is structured. It emphasizes individualism, anonymity, and there's just so much stimulation all the time. It's like a nonstop sensory overload. Think about it. You're surrounded by people, but how often do you really connect with them on a deeper level? You might pass tons of people on your way to work without saying a word. You might live in a building full of people and barely know your neighbors. It's easy to feel lost in the crowd. This lack of real connection, combined with the fast-paced, achievement-oriented culture of cities, can lead to a sense of isolation and loneliness. And it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Feeling lonely when you're surrounded by so many people. Now, this doesn't mean that cities are bad or that everyone who lives in the city is unhappy. It's just something to be aware of. Dr. von Hippel's research suggests that it's important to be mindful of the potential social challenges that come with urban environments and to actively seek out those connections that bring us joy, support, and make us feel like we belong. Maybe join a local group, volunteer for a cause you care about, make an effort to get to know your neighbors, or just prioritize hanging out with friends in person instead of spending all your time on social media. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Bill von Hippel's fascinating work, I want to leave you with this question. In a world that's constantly pulling us in a million different directions, how can we consciously create space for those genuine connections that make us feel truly alive and remind us of what it means to be human? It's something to think about. That concludes our exploration of Dr. von Hippel's work. We hope this deep dive has sparked some new ideas about how your mind works, the importance of connection, and maybe even inspired you to make some small but meaningful changes in your life. Remember, even though the world is constantly changing, our basic human needs haven't really changed all that much. We all want to feel connected, like we belong, and like our lives have a purpose. So as you navigate this crazy thing called life, don't forget to nurture those social bonds. Seek out experiences that bring you joy and meaning, and prioritize those genuine connections that remind you of what it truly means to be human. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking out those aha moments that make life so rich and rewarding.